Oh, good evening, everyone, and welcome to an absolute dog's breakfast for the first show of 2018 for Tuesday Night Live. Without further ado, because everything I'm touching is turning to lead, I'll hand you over to our inimitable host, Peter J. How you going, Pete?
Thanks, Fane, very much for your joining us, and we thanks for all your support there. I know you've been working overtime, and most of all, welcome to everybody for the first 2018 AFL CrowCast Tuesday Night Live edition. Very glad to have you all with us, and we're really happy to be back and bring this to you again this year. We're joined tonight, of course, by the inimitable Fane, who's there, been doing a whole heap of work and getting us on the air. And Macca is tonight. Macca, how are you?
Oh, very good, mate. Looking forward to it.
Another year, and we have Donkey Magoo as well, debut for the Tuesday Night Live edition. How you going?
Yeah, not too bad, Pete. Thank you for my first Guernsey. It was lovely this afternoon by Fane, and really looking forward to getting out with.
No, it's fantastic to have you along. It's good to always good to have a new voice. All right, look, without further ado, we've got no Nicky, so there's going to be no Nicky's news. Of course, different format this year. We really want to try and get you people involved that are out there having a listen. So if you want to join us and send some messages to us so that we can chat about some stuff, and also Skype into us as well. Quite welcome to come on and have a shot at us and have a dip at Macca for some of the silly stuff he says and all that. And if you've got any opinions you want to put over the air, then just get on board and
All right,
and
Pete,
have a go.
I've just got to hold you up there, Pete. Because Skype's not working.
Okay, so I just want to let you all know that you can't Skype us. We're not interested. We don't want to hear your voice.
Stuff you.
Get stuff. That's it. No, otherwise, just send us a message and we'll have a chat about some stuff.
Hang on.
I thought I'd kick it off tonight.
Hang on.
Yeah, hang on.
Come on. All right, so here we
fired
go.
Up, mate.
Yeah, I know you are, but just let me get this out. So if you want to talk to us, send us a message. You can tweet us at AFL CrowCast using the hashtag Tuesday Night Live. You can obviously comment on the live cast on Facebook. Just comment underneath the video. For those tech heads that use Discord, you can actually hop on Discord. I will intermittently show a Discord invite on the live chat if I can get the damn thing working. And what else? And maybe at some stage I'll even get the website working. It's just been an absolute freaking nightmare at the moment. So, that's it for me. I'll shut up now.
Thanks, mate. Sorry, we are tacked up to the eyeballs, thanks to Fane. So jump on board and have a chat. I wanted to get things kicked along tonight just by recapping a little bit about the grand final. We haven't really had much of a chat with everybody to pour their guts out since then. It was just a horrific day, and I'm not quite sure how anybody else is feeling, but I'm just feeling really a little bit empty about the season, and I've got this horrible, and I know I shouldn't think like this, but I've just got this sick feeling in my guts that everything this year is just really not going to mean much until such time as we're at the grand final again, to trying to erase that bitter memory of September last year. It was horrendous, and just got memories of being there on the day, and my family parts of my family being in tears. And just a horrendous day. So, guys, what do you think? How are you feeling about this season upcoming, based upon that bloodbath that took part on the MCG last year?
Yeah, well, look, I'll kick it off, and then Donkey will come and make some sense after I've finished. But I'm like you, Pete. I feel very much like I was cheated last year. That we used to put together on the park during the year a team that proved itself during the course of the season to be the best team. But the bad part of it, of course, was that I think they probably believed that too much, and there's obviously what was going on between the years wasn't absolutely good on the day, because one team really wanted it, and that was Richmond, and I think man for man they were a lesser team, but that's not the point. On the day they were the better team. And then also I felt cheated by Arsenal that picking two guys, one on the ball, one at full back, who were injured, and it didn't need to be selected. I just thought, here we go again. We've got a history of going into grand finals and taking injured players, and it backfires on you. And like you, Pete, but you feel very empty after the year finished, and you think to yourself, what the F was that all about? And you commend and it's to get grand final and win the bloody thing this year, and that's going to be very, very hard because a lot of sides are going to improve this year. But over to you, Donkey. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, it's such a deflating feeling, and sort of the disbelief that started to settle in about halfway through the second quarter hasn't really washed away from me. I was sort of standing there in the shower the other night, singing the song to myself for a while, and sort of just going, why don't we man up?
Why
couldn't we tackle harder? Why didn't we play like it was a grand final? Why did we stand there like star mullets? Like it was. It's just one of those things where it's almost like you're watching a car crash in front of you. It's kind of quite open-ended, and for me, it wasn't just the selection issues, but the way that we handled it around, and the way that there was only a couple of blokes pulling, and a whole lot of passengers, and that was a really hard thing to watch, and really hard thing to stomach after a while.
How are you feeling about this year, though, mate?
Look, I'm actually quite bullish. My theory is that clubs like the Western Bulldogs and Richmond have, they've obviously won a flag in the last couple, sort of come out of the blue and rocketed it up, and they've taken the biscuits. But we've actually coming from a base that's been increasing every year, and our best players are in their prime at the moment. And as long as we keep everyone fit, we've got some good kids coming through. I think we're going to build up on that. I don't see us falling off, but getting to the grand final is not.
Feeney, how you feeling, mate? Where's it all sit with you?
Well, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to think.
No, I don't think he's there at the moment.
Not
yeah,
happening?
look, I just noticed on the Facebook comments, Gavin Kemp, thanks for your questions, mate. I'll just give the guys some notice. Gavin's grand final and what we think that we'll see from him this year and how he'll respond and any change to his philosophy. But we'll have a chat about a few things and then we'll get to some of the questions a bit later on. But just keep that one in your back of your mind, boys, if you can. I just wanted to godforsaken abomination that occurred last week in the name of AFLX. The AFL, they should be charged with bringing the game into disrepute. It was an absolute disgrace. I've never seen a more ridiculous competition in all of my entire, not even the same ground. It was just an absolute pointless waste of time. And I switched it off after one game. I heard the next day that we'd won the tournament, but I mean, it just, to me, just an absolute blight on the game. Is that a bit strong, or what do you think, guys?
Well, I don't be so reserved about it, Pete. But
you really think, mate?
but seriously, I have mixed feelings about it because look, it's got no place here really in terms of taking to imitate like the cricket where they have a shortened version of it. And this is not a shortened version of our game. It's really, to me, it looks very much like a bit of circle work, and it gives the opportunity for people like Cam Ellis-Yeoman and Dode, etc., blokes like that to have a run around and
do what?
Look at them.
Run around and do what?
Watch them training, mate, and training live on the TV. And
I've seen more pressure, and my son's under 8 and year 3 football than that.
Oh well, yeah, that's probably true. But I think the idea that the AFL are going to put this thing together, and they're going to take it overseas where it can be played on grounds because of the fact that you use soccer pitches, etc. And I think that's why they're pushing it very hard. I mean, in its current format, it's pretty useless. It's not any way representative of our game.
Ridiculous.
And I don't think that on a small pitch you can have it any way representative of our game. But they will try and make something out of it to take overseas, and they are very interested in trying to get international TV rights as well. So I think that's what it's all about, really.
Donk, what do you think?
Oh, look, I was a bit sceptical of it going in, but after watching the boys run around in the tricolours and coming away with the flag, I much have the atonement to the grand final, and to go from now. But seriously, it was I watched a lot of it. Actually, I watched a bit on the last day as well. I skipped the relegation round that was in the middle, and it was good to see some young players getting out and having, and people I hadn't seen before. It was good to see Dode, and it was good to see Jake Kelly actually sort of dominate a format, and I kind of enjoyed that. And that Wilson fellow I hadn't really seen much of before, so it was good to see. It was good to see those guys have a run. I don't think you can take too much away from the results. I think it's a bit like kissing your sister. Nothing really match matters at the end, but it was a bit of fun. The only team that I'd be worried about coming out of that weekend would be Port Adelaide, because they had a shocker and they tried to play a lot of people. Couldn't even.
Fiend, you're back, mate. I was going to just quickly ask you how the grand final's sitting in your guts at the moment, and how you're feeling about this year.
Look, in terms of the grand final, I guess it's a distant memory, but there's a few blokes that really have to make this season their own, because again, going back to the only thing that Malthouse ever said that made any sense was if you didn't perform in big games, then you weren't really a good player. And there was a number of players in the Crows team in that grand final that didn't stand up, and Richard Douglas in particular didn't stand up, literally. So, I'll be interested to see how we start the year. Traditionally, grand finalists always start a bit slower. But really, we've set the groundwork now, and nothing less than a premiership really suffices this year for me. In terms of the AFLX, what an absolute joke. I don't care what anyone says. It's a training run. It's a gimmick. It's an obvious attempt by the AFL to manufacture something that they can market overseas. It doesn't actually display our game in its true light, and I think that's my biggest complaint about it, is that it's not AFL football. It's played on the wrong size ground. It's played with the wrong amount of people. It's got the wrong rules. They even use a stupid silver ball, although, obviously someone didn't test that in the cameras because that got turfed in the first 5 minutes. It's not actually Australian rules football. It's even less Australian rules football than bloody international rules. So I don't like it.
Where's the integrity? Where's the integrity of the game? I mean, at least with, they keep trying to compare it to big, T20 cricket. At least the integrity of the game is preserved insofar as the pitch is the same, the bat's the same, the stumps are the same. You're still bowling and batting, and you're just, playing a shorter version. So it's like saying, well, we're just going to play a half of football and go hell for leather.
Well, I think Gil McLaughlin would disagree with him, because he's thinking the dollars are the same. I'd like to get some international dollars. That's all he's all about. That's what this thing is all about. It's never going to be any good here, but I think that's what it's all about, because he made the comment, the fact that it costs a fortune to start for Port Adelaide to stage one match. We can take this overseas and do tournaments overseas for next door to nothing. The guy said it. He said it out.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, good luck with that, because it just there's just zero integrity to the game. And,
I agree.
It's an absolute disgrace.
Nothing to do with our game,
I don't know. I wouldn't have watched any footy last. It's not like it gets in the way of the JTL. It might give more people a little run. It's not the purest form of football, but they got to try something different. They got to look at different things. But I don't know that I'm that offended by it. Maybe I'm AFL agnostic. I enjoyed watching some form of footy on the weekend. I miss having footy. I'm bored of the cricket. I enjoyed stuff. And as long as it doesn't ever take over what really, and there's some extra bits of the weekend, I'm happy.
Well, I just hit the Netflix button again and got back into Narcos, which is what I'm watching at the moment, and thoroughly enjoyed that, and didn't miss the grand final of the AFLX. But anyway, that's our position on that. Just moving on, I see Jason McKay, who's a great stalwart fan of the show. Jason, great to have you commenting tonight. We'll have a chat about Kirtley, Siwine, and Boccaccini a little bit after. We're just going to have a quick chat about pre-season generally, and maybe those players will come up. Any thoughts on our pre-season? Who do we think may well be standing out and looking towards the JLT, which is coming up this weekend down at Strath, I think it is. really nice part of the world down there. Might head along there myself, but hoping to see some good performances and good pre-season out of particularly Tom Duday. I think that he's a critical player to step up and hopefully cover for the loss of Jake Lever. Anyone else that anyone's looking to have a good pre-season from?
Well,
I'd really like to see. Oh, you go, Maka.
Sorry, no, where you go, Donkey, mate? You're off.
I was going to say, I really want to see Hampton have a good run. I think that losing Charlie Cameron and losing Lever are the 2 to 3 big problems we've got to solve for 2018. The other one, obviously, being the loss of Smith. I think that if Dodo can take over from Lever, and we can have Charlie Cameron being replaced by Hampton, and I think he brings the same pressure. I think he brings the same attacking flair. He brings the same pace and the tackling ability. I think that's going to be a crucial get right for us in 2018. And if Kirtley can do that, and also maybe hit a target rather than give worm burners after he gets the ball, I think it's going to be a big one for us. So I'd like to see him actually.
Well, that's what I get for letting you go first, Donkey, mate. You're still my thunder. No, I was going to talk about the same bloke because I am a bit of a Kirtley Hampton fan. I just think the guy's got skill to burn. How is that magical little toe up to himself, Gaelic style on the run? And I thought the umpire had no sense of theatre whatsoever, calling him for running too far. You should just let him kick a goal because it deserved it. Yeah. But Kirtley, he is a very, very talented footballer, and I think people forget if you go back and look at Kirtley's stats when he was playing for us before he got injured. He was very big on the tackles, and also he was always our leader on the what do they call them, the
pressure acts. I'll jump in there, Mac. I'm glad you both mentioned Kirtley Hampton. Played the first 9 games for us, I think it was, or 8 or 9 games before he got injured. And interestingly enough, first game back in the SANFL obviously needed the run, and then second game back, which was the last game of their season, he was in the top 2, 20-odd possessions and had a great game. So, he's in really good form. He was in good form, and you're right. I used to call him a bit of a bulldozer in the middle. He was tackling, he was pressuring, he was doing all of those hard things.
Pressure acts, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, that's right. And so I think you're both quite right. I think he might well be an ideal replacement, and also he's a beautiful kick for goal, and he's quite dangerous around goals. He could be a very good replacement for Charlie Cameron.
Yep. And what about Galucci? I thought he was a little bit disappointing in that game, in the sense of his running was okay, and he's getting the ball on. It wasn't all that bad, but his disposal, he worries me a little bit with his disposal. I thought by now, being in the system for a couple of years, at least the man should be able to kick it a little bit better. But he's a little bit inconsistent with his kicking.
Macca, the most exciting thing that will come out of the 2016 draft for us will be Elliot Himmelberg, and you can write that one down. Fane, did you want to have a quick word about who you're looking for the pre-season for?
Well, there's a couple of injuries that concern us. Obviously, Tex with the plantar fascia or whatever it is. Riley Knight's got his ankle. There's a couple of other niggles going around. For mine, I'm really keen to see Duday step up in the back line. I think he gives us something that offsets the loss of the snake, and I'm looking forward to him. I'm also looking forward to see if we actually change things up forward. I think that there's some opportunities to play Tex a bit higher once he's back in. I think we need to play Gov deep, and it'll be interesting to see how they use Gov this year. As far as the young lads are concerned, I think we do need to see Galucci and to a lesser degree Paholke push in for a couple. But I think mainly it's those blokes that have been on the sidelines, like you say, the Hamptons, that really need to push in and establish themselves. And I think with those blokes back with the full pre-season. The other one, speaking of pre-seasons, Bradley Crouch has had a full pre-season, no injuries that I've heard of. He improved as the season wore on last year. What have you done? He needs to be in. And I've touched wood, don't worry. What
have you done,
literally.
Phoenix? You've been this. I'm knocking on wood.
I've touched wood, not mine, but the desk. Brad Crouch for mine is probably the player that I'm most interested to see step up this year, because I think there's an opportunity there for him to really establish himself. But another average season sees him really as probably just a good ordinary player.
Yeah, and I think he's better than that. I think you're right. Because if you go back to when he first started, he was going to be anything, and he's been hampered by injuries. But last year, he towards the end of the year, he had a good run where he didn't have that problems, and I'm hoping that, like you're hoping, that he picks up his momentum and gets back to where on that upward curve that he was on before he did start to get that run of injuries, and he could be anything if he really realises his full potential. You mentioned McGovern, and there was an article that McGovern said he wants to be much more of a main man this year. He wants to have more involvement in the play than he has in the past, and he wants to really step up and be a centrepiece type thing. So I think he's in for a very good year.
I certainly hope there's some competitive spirit in the Crouch household, because the way I'm looking at things, Brad Crouch has dropped so far behind Matt. It's not funny. Matt is a standalone in the Crouch family, and he is a long way ahead. So let's hope, Fiend, that you're right, that he has a good pre-season and he can actually catch him up, because he seems a long way away from All-Australian selection to me at the moment.
Well,
but you never know.
He did,
Sorry.
he did. But towards the end of the season, I saw some signs, and we've got to remember that Bradley's had a full pre-season for the first time in 3-4 years.
Yep.
So
Correct.
that heaviness in the legs that was a bit noticeable at times during 2017 shouldn't be with. He should have enough strength through the quads and all that to have a bit of power and a bit of pace back. There's really no excuses for Brad this year. Really no excuses.
No.
And when you consider the two Crouch boys, Rory Sloane and Bryce Gibbs, who obviously I think everyone's looking forward to running around in a Crows Guernsey, on paper, in theory, and with a few lesser lights running through there, like your Kirtley Hamptons and your Richard Douglas, etc., your Rory Atkins, who's another one that needs to play a bit tougher this year. On paper, we have a fantastic midfield. I think we have a solid defence. Keith will probably step up. We've got Doody in the wings. Don't think we'll lose much with Lever going out. Our forward line needs a bit of a revamp, I think, and interesting what you were saying, Macca, about Gov wanting to be the main man. I think he has to be the main man. He's our best marking forward up forward. Play Tex and Jenkins high, and leave Gov one out with Eddie at his feet. But Bradley Crouch is the missing piece in what could be a very devastating midfield. And my son pointed out to me last week, and I think I agree with him, I think this season is really going to be a season where midfields dominate. Collingwood, obviously Sydney with all their players back on deck, a couple of others, even Port Adelaide to that extent, with Rockcliffe being added to their midfield rotation. I think it is going to be a season of midfield dominance. And
Geelong and GWS.
Geelong in particular, have a look. Dangerfield, Selwood, bloody 34-year-old Gary Ablett with 16 games in the last 2 seasons. He's still fresh. So Brad Crouch for mine is a key to our success in 2018.
Right. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for Brad and hopefully all that potential. Moving along to just some of the people that have messaged in. I'm having a look at the Facebook comments feed. I'm not sure if you're seeing anything else from around your web of technical
Nothing in Twitter land yet. I'm very disappointed. Get on Twitter, you people.
Gavin Kemp, we're going to go back to his question about was looking for an assessment of Pikey's performance in the grand final and what we'll see from him this year in terms of a response and any changes to his coaching philosophy, do we think?
Well, if we look at the selection part of the game, Greenwood lasted 1 quarter. He was an injured guy. He went in as an injured player. And Tarley was an injured player. And then so I'm very annoyed about that, and I just hope that Pike won't take chances in that particular area. You've got to have 22 fit players in the grand final. But the other thing is that there was something lacking in the motivation area, because one side, which was Richmond, were prepared to die to get the football, and a better player team in terms of quality of players normally weren't showing the same endeavour as that particular team. So to me, it's not so much whether the Piking coach and all that from a week to week proposition. It's this motivation factor, because you can't get a bigger motivation than to go to a grand final and want to win that. And yet we didn't show it. We didn't show it. So, I know it's very hard to control fat heads, but yeah, that's up to the coach. He's got to do it.
But I think also, and what I'd like to see is when it's not going right. I know we say we try to play the way we play, but when it's not going right and when it's a big occasion like the grand final, clog the ball up. Flood it down back, do something different, like make the game, reset the way the game's being played, and then try and put it back onto our level. Don't just try and arm wrestle it back to the way we're playing. Like, there needs to be some sort of circuit breaker, and I think we need to build that circuit breaker into the way we play.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Doc. And I noticed that in the couple of finals, the Geelong one was a runaway, but sort of mostly went our way. But the GWS was a game where we did do that a lot, and particularly I think in the last quarter, we really controlled the ball a lot, and just played keepings off, and I just felt like in the grand final, Pikey, there's this whole, he's obviously got great faith in his game plan and his players, and that's great. Got him to the grand final, but it was I don't know how anybody else felt, but it seemed quite clear to me about halfway through the second quarter that it was slipping, and even though it wasn't massively destructive on the scoreboard, you just sensed the game was being taken away.
Absolutely.
I just didn't feel like at that time that, as Doc said, that there just didn't seem to be any kind of reset, any kind of attempt to try and certainly know that I can recall any kind of positional changes. And once again, I just felt that Sloaney had a great first quarter, and as happened all year, they set a tag on Sloaney from the second quarter, and that just was allowed to happen. Now that's partially on the player, but it's also going to be partially on the coach as well, because it wasn't like he didn't have any notice about the fact that Sloaney would get tagged, and that can hurt us during a game. And just didn't feel like he was very responsive to some of those things. Fang, what did you think?
Yeah, look, I felt like we
ducked
settled
away,
into.
But I just sorry.
Sorry, you got me?
Yep, go.
Yep. I just felt like we were. I felt the coaching staff were lost their proactivity as the season progressed. I felt like we settled into a pattern, and we didn't really deviate. And in that grand final, we were all at sea when Richmond decided to press up and to really pressure the ball carrier out of halfback and deny us that transition football that we'd been so comfortable with all season. There didn't seem to be a plan B, and as Donkey said, didn't seem to be a desire to just hang on to the ball and play the game on our terms. We were content to just kick to areas that we were outnumbered and outpositioned. So I think a bit more proactivity from the coaching staff this year, and it's all very well and good to have the Crows way, but it just makes me cringe, because not every team is going to let you play the way you want to play. And under those, and particularly in finals where it's just all about pressure, and there just has to be a plan B under those circumstances. And I'm not sure whether, just doing the same things better. We've heard that from other coaches in the past, and it hasn't worked. And I just hope that Don's a bit more proactive this year.
Yeah,
do you think? Sorry, mate.
I was going to say there was just a little touch of Neil Craig about it in one way, in the sense that Craig used to always think that his way was the right way, and we'll persevere with that. And to some degree, that's what we did in that game, and I think that's what Phoenix was getting at. We just didn't change it.
Surely, though, he must, and this is open to everybody, but surely he, along with all of the players, the staff, he reviews his own performance, and you would think that there has to be, some realization that you can't just keep going as you did, and there's got to be some change afoot. The same with the with the game plan and the like. You wouldn't think that he's just going to roll up in 2018 and just leave everything the same. What sort of do you think that he'll? Do you think there'll be any change to his philosophy, or and if there is, how do you think it'll go?
I tend to think I've got a lot of faith in Pike. I think that he, even though being a bit chalk and cheese from Walshy in a few ways, I think he has a very analytical way that he approaches his craft, and I think that our game plan actually is an evolving one, and he does change with matchups. In round one or his first game, didn't have Hartigan in the side because he wanted to play a certain way. Obviously, cost us that game, put him in, and was willing to make that adjustment and willing to make that change. So I do think that he updates the way that he does things. But does he update fast enough? Who's in that box with him to make say, well, this isn't going right now, and you're only getting to play one grand final once, and is that change happening live? We don't always have the benefit of an off season or weeks to work out what's going on. Sometimes you've got to roll the dice and plan. So, look, there was the grand final loss. I think set some on his shoulders. I mean, some of the most disappointing things I saw were, and I know we covered this earlier, but I think I've just got a bit of, it's just an open wound that still bleeds out. But the ball would be bouncing off our half line, and there'd be one person in a context. We wouldn't have any crummers around, and 3 Richmond blokes be running it out. And where's the coaching staff getting them to, even congest and congest the forward line, and at least have an attempt to get a crumb or do something like that. It was just like this ping pong that just sort of invisible wall that just sort of bounced off our half forward line back into there. So pressing.
Yeah, and just going back to that tag issue. I mean, is there anything more Adelaide? Is there anything more Crows than losing an effing grand final, largely due to a bloody pick 50-odd from Tea Tree Gully, who's played 5 games of football and bobs up in a grand final and kicks 3 goals and takes your best player out of the game? I mean, how Crows is that?
Well, let's be fair. It's the first grand final we've lost.
Well, yes, but perhaps in a final, isn't he? Yeah.
In a big game, mate.
I know, I'm just being a wanker.
Yeah, mate.
One little thing I meant to mention. One little thing I meant to mention before, Taylor Walker with his injured foot, and he's no certainty to be there for the first game of the year, and maybe might even miss a couple. Did anybody read anything into the fact that in that AFLX game, which was really only a training run, I agree, but Alex Keith, he played in the forward lines and around about where we said our forward would be, that they might actually try and use him in that position if Walker's unavailable?
I think they like Keith and they wanted to play footy. And I don't think he's going to push Hartigan or Taylor out anytime soon. So I think they probably grew him up. I actually think he's going to be the swingman. I'm hoping it's Andy Otten. They just put him up and down.
That's what I was getting at. And then because he actually, my understanding is that when he was playing footy, he was a forward.
He played a fair bit of up forward at SANFL level initially too, didn't he, Pete, before they shifted him down back?
Yeah, he did. And I did see that first game where he was able to run faster than the other guy and lead into about 3 acres of space and catch a ball unopposed. So you'd be forgive me for not thinking that was any great import. But no, look back. Maybe they want to put him up forward. But yeah, he did play some forward line football in the SANFL thing. You're spot on. And look, he's a very talented player.
Well, yeah, I think we've got other options. We've got a Harry Deer that needs to start getting some time. And I thought Harry showed a couple of nice things. The game wasn't really suited to him, that AFLX, but he's certainly tenacious over the ball when he's motivated. And I think with Tex out, I'd rather see Harry in, to be honest.
Well, that's up to we'll see what happens in the next couple of games.
It's up to the selectors, Macca. Jesus. Of course it's up to the selectors. They're not going to take my call, are they?
Jason McKay is
no, I was going to say that.
Is one of our rusted-on supporters, and he was asking earlier about we did have a chat about Curtly Hampton, so we won't worry about him. We did speak to him about him at length. He was asking about our thoughts on CEY and Kyle Cheney, both players who were injured for substantial amounts of time last year. And actually, as you said before, Fiend, it's interesting to see That's a trio if we include Hampton of injured players who may now be back pressing for selection. How do we see those other two, Cheney and CEY, fitting in this year, if at all?
Just before we head into that, I'd just like to hook into that we've also got a similar question. I just want to acknowledge DSG on Twitter, who's our inaugural hashtag TNL user. Thank you, DSG on Twitter. And he's also asked, which players do we see transitioning in and out of the side this year? So it's a similar question, I guess. Sorry, go on, Macca.
Yeah, I think, Cheney was actually very good, as was CEY. And,
don't tell me they were very good in the AFLX.
They were very good in the AFLX. And look, they trade very well. But no, actually, what I did like about CEY, he actually did win many one-on-one contests for the ball, and I thought he used his body very, very, very well. I actually was relatively impressed by his game. But having said that, of course, you got to take it account. Well, it's not pressure football, but they will be very, very handy for depth. Those players, and at some time during the course of the year, when you get injuries or lack of form, whatever, they'll get a chance. I'm sure they'll play. But games
will they though,
year.
Macca? Will they? Because history suggests they won't.
Well, before Jake Lever, Kyle Cheney was a very effective third defender.
He was.
He had an excellent season for us in, what was it, 2016?
I'd be very amazed if Cheney didn't play a game somewhere along the line. And CEY, it's going to be a little bit harder for him because a lot more depth going for the midfield. But, I think he's good enough if he gets a chance.
Nobody's saying that he's not good enough.
I'm about to. I think both those blokes are depth at best, and if they play significant football this year, we'll pack up over bat and ball and go home now. I just don't. I just think we've got enough blokes in defence, younger blokes that should be coming through to keep Cheney out, and I think that I just don't think CY's got it like he just. That was basically a game played against rookies last weekend, and didn't look quite good enough. Did some nice things, but this is a bloke that's been in 7 years, so it's not a.
He's also coming back from an ACL, to be fair.
The other interesting one, in answer to DSG on the Twitter, is probably Sam Gibson. He's probably an interesting one to see where he may or may not fit.
He will play. He will definitely play, and he wasn't recruited for no reason at all. I see he will probably occupy a wing, and he may even have a go in the half-back line as well. Because this bloke, but I think probably more likely to be on the wing because this bloke can run all day. Seriously, he is a running machine. He just can run and run and run, and he gets a lot of the ball. I've always actually thought he's a very, very good player for North Melbourne. I'm amazed I've actually delisted him at this stage, but he'll be a very handy player for us. And he's a very, very good ball getter one-on-one. He's a good player.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Macca. I've always liked David McKay. I thought that a couple of years ago that he wasn't really playing very good football. I thought he played decent football last year, but there's one thing that his determination can't seem to overcome, and that's just not developed enough muscularly and gets pushed off the ball a lot and
absolutely
and ragdolled and Gibson runs just as hard as long as he knows the patterns. He should be the same player. Plus, he's got a bit of a bigger frame on him, and that's not. I know a lot of people sort of rag on McKay, and sometimes it's warranted, but I think Gibson's just McKay plus.
What do you think of Sam Gibson, Fane?
I reckon he's in specifically to help break tags, to be honest with you. I don't think he's in as a runner. He's obviously got the tank and he can run all day, but I think we'll use him in a defensive capacity to try and nullify players. I don't think he's going to take a wing. We've got Seedsman, we've got Rory Atkins, we've got a couple of others. Hampton could probably take a wing. I could see him at times slotting in across halfback, but I don't see him being anything more than a defensive player, which is a type of player that we lack. We don't have players that can help Rory shake a tag when he needs to. So I don't expect huge things from Gibson. That's not to say he's not a good player, because I think he is. But I think that's the reason why we've got him across.
Okay, just finally, before we move on to the next topic tonight, any thoughts on the JLT coming up in Strath on Sunday? Is it Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday.
I think.
Sunday. Yeah, definitely Sunday. I'll set me Fox till to record it on Sunday. Yeah. They were there with the cows down at Strath. Well, I don't know. I would say that we would probably play 2/3 of a core of a good side and put a few possibility players around them. And I don't think this is a game they'll take as seriously as they will the next one. And then, which unfortunately is Port down at Alberton. But I think this is where they will give some of the marginal players. Well, they will give some of the marginal players a run.
Do you reckon Douglas and Mackay are shoe-ins?
Sorry, Donkey?
Douglas and Mackay are shoe-ins for the weekend then?
Well, they shouldn't be.
I'm sorry, mate. It's not coming through.
Douglas and Mackay shoe-ins for the weekend then, if we're looking at fringe players.
Oh.
Yeah, Douglas and Mackay should be depth.
Well, they should be. They should be pushed out this year, in reality. And I think, though, that in terms of JLT, I think you're right, Fiona, what you said before. We'll have a bit of a slow start to the year, I would think. And I can't see them putting too much effort into these games, other than trying to expose a few of the mid-range players and younger players.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
All right. I think what we'll do now is that we're looking at running a couple of competitions this year, a tipping competition, and we're also looking at an AFL fantasy competition. Fiona, do you want to throw to some information on those?
Nah, stuff them.
No, not
kidding.
bothering.
I'm kidding.
I was ready to go. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know you were. Yeah, well, the reason I said stuff them is simply because, we've set up these tipping comps and we've set up Dream Team, and I've just put the tipping comp list up on the screen at the moment, and have a look. You, me and J-Mac, Pete. We haven't even got... Donkey's not even on there. Macca's not even on there. Now, Macca reckons he's the expert on everything. He's not even putting his hand up for the tipping comp.
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, what?
Of course you knew there was one. I've been plastering it everywhere. Don't you follow our social media feeds, Macca?
Trying to avoid it.
Anyway, so we're running it through Sports Deck, which is a standalone platform for running footy competitions, obviously. So the tipping comp there, there on Facebook there is a link already, but I'll keep chucking up links on Twitter and Facebook, and I'll chuck a link on our website as well. So go ahead and join. There, I can't promise anything, but there may well be some sort of a prize for the winner at the end of the year. At the very least, maybe a carton of beer or something like that, but hopefully something a little bit more substantial. And of course,
dinner with Phoenix.
Oh, look, I mean, there's prizes, Donkey, and then there's prizes, and I mean, let's not get carried away. Is
there going to be a car, Phoenix?
Yeah, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Now, the Dream Team's even more interesting for your absence, Macca, because I heard that you're a bit of a guru on the fantasy footy. What's going on?
I go all right in it, yeah. And Donkey does too. So we might have a bit of a competition here, the Donkey and I.
Now, there is prizes on the Sports Deck Dream Team platform. They're not as lucrative, obviously, as the media ones, but then again, there's probably not as many participants either. So, in terms of chances to win, it's probably better overall. But rather than go through the media ones, I thought we'd set it up here. So, as I said, I will chuck links all over the place on our website and on Facebook and on Twitter and anywhere else you like. Go ahead and join. I know people have got fantasy footy leagues everywhere, and another fantasy footy team is sometimes a little bit difficult to manage, but it'll be well worth it. We'll be spending a bit of time talking about it during the season. obviously there's massive bragging rights on the tipping comp, and I expect Macca to get absolutely slaughtered in tipping.
I can live with that.
I don't know whether you can. I really
I have to
don't
fess
know
up
whether you can.
from the outset. I'm an absolutely putrid tipster. Putrid.
Well, there's two of us.
I had a very bad year last year, Fiend.
I have a bad year every year.
I haven't won a lot of comps in my time, but I tell you what, last year I could not pick my nose. It was really bad last year.
I run about 50%, and that's 50% remembering and putting my tips.
Yeah, that's right. I'm one of those blokes that I get to around 10 and it's like I'm so far behind, I'm just going to forget it and just pick the away team. That's what usually happens in tipping. But no, fantasy league's not so bad, but tipping I'm horrendous.
Now, it's AFL fantasy, I hope, Fiend.
No, it's AFLX, mate. Of course it's AFL. What did you think it was?
No, you've got many options.
Yeah.
What they call
There's sports.
Both Donkey and I, we're AFL fantasy men.
Yeah, well, good luck to you. It's a fairly simple
Thank you
format. It's a fairly simple format.
One of the new improvements this year is that we're going to cut people off at dribbling shit. So here's a cut off and.
So don't expect to hear much of Macca then this year.
Oh God, I got to carry these folks.
Oh shit!
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, look out for the links and get around it.
Okay. Perfect.
Here we go.
Any save? We're going to close it out there. Fiend, do you want to just run through our little call signs there so everyone knows where we are on social media?
I don't know where I am, for God's sake. Look, hopefully is the this is the pre-season for Tuesday Night Live as well, and I got to say that production-wise, I give myself about a Z minus tonight. Poorly prepared, trying to get kids off YouTube and playing bloody. What's Tyler playing at the moment? He's playing Fortnite, which is like this online shooting game, and. When I went to start up the podcast, and I'm thinking, why is everything lagging and itching and carrying on? It's because my whole family is on the internet, so I had to go and kick them off. Anyway, so over the course of the pre-season and then obviously heading into the season proper, hopefully you'll see a far more slick graphic experience. I've actually Chromecasted this, or the AFL Weekly Show, I've actually Chromecasted it to the TV, so hopefully at some stage we'll actually be able to fill out the graphics with enough content that it'll be worthwhile listening to and watching. But in the meantime, you can catch our audio and video feeds on demand at AFL CrowCast. We also put our videos on our YouTube channel, which is CrowCast, if you just search CrowCast on YouTube. We're also on TuneIn Radio this year, which is pretty cool. So I know I use TuneIn Radio to listen to SEN, although not so much now that Hutchie's taken over, but I use TuneIn Radio quite a bit to stream other radio stations around the place, and if you search CrowCast in your TuneIn Radio app, you'll see all our weekly shows there as well, so you'll be able to favourite them and just have them come through on demand on TuneIn Radio. Of course, we're on iTunes, and I think that might be a bit... Oh, and obviously follow us on Twitter at AFL CrowCast, and probably other and your usual podcatching software if you're old school and just like to use your old Android phone with Podcatcher or something or other. That's about it, I think, Pete.
We have our tentacles everywhere. It was great to be back on Tuesday Night Live this week, and Don, thanks for being with us on your debut. I think you did a great job, and good to have you on board this week. And Macca, as always,
you did a great job? Do you think Donkey did a great job? I don't know.
No, Donkey, no, he's a good lad. No, Donkey.
And Fiend,
I don't know whether I was expecting more, to be honest.
Fiend, thanks for all of your tech support. You brought yourself down tonight, but as always, you do a good job.
He's a bit rusty at the moment, Fiend.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's a good job.
It's.
He hadn't been training hard enough.
I haven't been. I've got to go back and have a good look at myself.
Don't forget, I'm trying to cut us off here, guys. Don't forget AFL Weekly on Wednesday night as well, and we'll be back for... Are you doing a rap show on Sunday?
No, there's nothing to rap.
Oh,
What
No,
is
we'll
it
do
a rap? The bloody cricket or something?
No,
we
it's
got the-
JLT.
We'll do that
who
on
cares about the
Tuesdays. Have
JLT?
something to
We'll
talk
do it Tuesday. Catch you next Tuesday.
about.
See you.
Yeah, good night, all.
Good night, folks. Well, shit. There we go. There we go.
Smooth as butter.
What was the final time on that? Can you tell?
Oh, I don't fucking
about-
know. Jesus Christ.
You used to be able to tell. That was you used to send messages saying, "Oh, this is on the old app." You used to be able to say, "Oh, we're at 9:30."